Welcome to The Weekly, an audio digest from Tab Media Group, featuring news and human interest stories from the Baptist Paper and the Alabama Baptist. New episodes are released every Wednesday. Subscribe wherever you get your favorite podcasts or visit us online at tabonline.org/podcasts.
Prolific author and Bible teacher Denise George has written an 8-part series for the Alabama Baptist about how Jesus prayed. We'll be sharing that series with you through the weekly podcast platform. This week's article, How to Pray Like Jesus Prayed, He Prayed with Boldness and Expectation, is read by Melanie McKinney and Daniel Gilliland.
During his life on earth, Jesus prayed with bold confidence and an expectant heart. He taught his disciples to also pray with boldness and with confidence that God would hear and answer their prayers. Jesus called Lazarus with boldness. When Jesus called dead Lazarus from the tomb, he knew God had heard his prayer and would answer it. "Father," Jesus prayed, "I thank you that you have heard me. I knew that you always hear me, but I said this for the benefit of the people standing here, that they may believe that you sent me." John 11:41 and 42. Then Scripture states, Jesus called in a loud voice, "Lazarus, come out." Verse 43. The dead man came out, his hands and feet wrapped with stripes of linen and a cloth around his face. Verse 44. Jesus spoke boldly to a corpse, and he was not surprised when Lazarus obeyed. Jesus had total confidence in the power of his Father. Storm the throne of grace and persevere therein, and mercy will come down, writes John Wesley in his The Letters of John Wesley, 1774.
Jesus taught bold prayer. Jesus gave his disciples a template for bold prayer. When you pray, say, "Father, hallowed be your name, your kingdom come. Give us each day our daily bread. Forgive us our sins, and lead us not into temptation." Luke 11:2-4. This prayer is bold in its requests for provision, forgiveness, and divine protection. Jesus knew God was listening and would act.
Jesus encouraged persistent and expectant prayer. Not only did Jesus teach others to pray boldly and confidently, but also persistently and expectantly. So I say to you, ask and it will be given to you. Seek and you will find. For everyone who asks receives, the one who seeks finds, and to the one who knocks the door will be opened. Luke 11:9 and 10. Jesus later told a parable about a poor widow and a cruel judge in Luke 18:1-8. The widow relentlessly petitioned the judge for justice. Though he initially refused, he eventually gave in. "Yet because this widow keeps bothering me, I will see that she gets justice so that she won't eventually come and attack me." Verse 5. Through this story, Jesus taught that persistent prayer moves God's heart. Jesus concluded, "And will not God bring about justice for his chosen ones, who cry out to him day and night? I tell you, he will see that they get justice and quickly." Verses 7 and 8.
Prayer and spiritual power. When the disciples failed to exorcise a demon from a small boy in Mark 9:14-29, Jesus intervened, commanding the evil spirit to leave the child. "You deaf and mute spirit," he said, "I command you, come out of him and never enter him again." Verse 25. The demon obeyed immediately. Later, the perplexed disciples asked Jesus, "Why couldn't we drive it out?" Verse 28. Jesus replied, "This kind can come out only by prayer." Verse 29. In The Power Through Prayer, E.M. Bounds writes, "Our praying needs to be pressed and pursued with an energy that never tires, a persistence which will not be denied, and a courage which never fails."
Scriptures that urge bold prayer. Scriptures urging bold, expectant, persistent prayer are prominent in the New Testament. "Therefore I tell you, whatever you ask for in prayer, believe that you have received it, and it will be yours." Mark 11:24. If you believe, you will receive whatever you ask for in prayer. Matthew 21:22. Let us then approach God's throne of grace with confidence so that we may receive mercy and find grace to help us in our time of need. Hebrews 4:16. This is the confidence we have in approaching God, that if we ask anything according to His will, He hears us. And if we know that He hears us, whatever we ask, we know that we have what we ask of Him. 1 John 5:14 and 15. But when you ask, you must believe and not doubt. James 1:6.
Here are some suggestions. When you pray personally, pray with faith, believing that you have received your prayer request. Approach God's throne with confidence. Ask according to God's will. Be assured that God will answer your call.
When the church prays, preach about the power of prayer, teaching members to pray with boldness, expectation, confidence, and persistence. Pray bold prayers aloud, setting a powerful prayer example that comes directly from Scripture. Remind the congregation that God hears and answers bold prayers. If God loves us so much, do we not believe that He will surely hear our prayers? Dietrich Bonhoeffer is believed to have said, "Therefore, pray boldly in spite of all obstacles. You have been given a seat in the court of heaven."
You can find the text of this article on our website at tabonline.org. Next week's installment will focus on how Jesus prayed without ceasing.
Praying with boldness and expectation. Wow, thanks Daniel and Melanie for reading that article by Denise George. And Denise, thank you again for all the articles you are providing for us in this series. Just as a reminder, it's an 8-part series on praying like Jesus prayed. And you can find those online at thebaptistpaper.org, thealabamabaptist.org, and through our weekly podcast, which is found anywhere you receive your podcast. I'm Jennifer Rash with Tab Media Group, and we are focusing this week on the 2nd-month anniversary from the tragic flooding out of Texas. Joining me is Mark Ira Hooks, our traveling correspondent who is currently in Kerrville, Texas, in the area there, and is on the phone with us, just sharing a little bit about what he's experiencing. Hey, Mark.
Hey, Jennifer.
All right, so you're there, you're on the phone, we've got you piped in here. Tell us a little bit about what this week has meant to you. You were there in July. Just as a background for everyone, we sent Mark out right away when the floods hit back in July, and he covered so many stories and did lots of spot news, and you can find it online, thebaptistpaper.org, and the Facebook page for the Baptist Paper. Mark decided he was willing to go back 2 months later, here we are, and just kind of see what it's like now, see what the stories are, how they're developing and all. So, Mark, just tell us a little bit about what you found as you've started back there 2 months later.
Well, I think it's interesting, especially for those of us who are in the news business. The news is only as fresh as when it comes out of your mouth. Things expire
Right.
so quickly, and so in a lot of people's minds, I think this is old news. But the fact of the matter is that this flood was so massive, the likes that we've really not seen, at least not in recent history, that the recovery from that is just unbelievable. Think of it this way. There were 119 people who died in this flood in the Kerr County area. 39 of those were children. It's only been 59 days now since that flood. And if we had a funeral every single day from the flood until now, we'd still need another month and a half of funerals just to catch up. Now, obviously, there's not been a funeral every day and whatever, but this community is, I don't want to say stuck because they are moving forward, but this is not something that happened and then we go on.
It can't be. No, there's probably still just even a surreal moment of coming out of a almost a stupor. Probably just, did this really happen? Wow.
Yeah, it's an ongoing hurt. I just came from down on the riverside, actually, and have been talking to some folks, and the people who live down there lost their homes, and some of them were washed completely away. Some of them have been able to be, rebuilt and worked on and that kind of thing. And I was in one of those homes today where they were doing those kinds of things. But the homeowners aren't living there. There was 9 feet of water in the house. They lost everything.
Wow.
And so they're staying with friends, and people are staying wherever they can stay, because these people lost their homes. And
Right.
So while a rebuild effort is certainly underway, children who went to one school may now be going to another school because they don't live there anymore. Those kinds of things. And so it's still very fresh here.
Right.
On every corner, green ribbons are what were chosen to around Texas to show support. Well, here in town, there's a green ribbon on every tree pole. There are signs that say Hill Country Strong, Texas Strong. But it is encouraging to see how the community, as a close community, and as a nation and as a Christian community, how people have rallied around. And I think it was refreshing for me to see that while we may have moved on in the nation's collective consciousness, there are still people from all over the country that are here and working every single day. Obviously not to the extent that it was 2 months ago or a month ago, but there are still people here from all over the country who are pitching in and continuing to give and continuing to work and volunteer, and I have to say that is very refreshing as well.
Oh, that's right, because so many times, compassion fatigue sets in, or like you said, something else happens and the attention changes. But to know that there's people still coming and serving and helping and caring for that community, and just all the families that were involved. Remind me what the latest number is. There are still 2 missing, is that correct?
So there's 2 missing. So 119 lost their lives. 39 of those were children, and there are 2 missing: an adult man and a female child.
Okay. And so what is that like? Are there search efforts?
Yeah, I mean, obviously search efforts are still going on. As a matter of fact, in the middle of the day yesterday, there was a false report, and that's something that you really have to watch out for too in stuff like this.
Right.
Rumors get started, and I don't know how things get started. Sometimes there's malice, but most times there's not. And there was a report that went out yesterday that little girl had been found, and there was an air of excitement, and then at the middle of the day it was oh no, this was a false report. Please don't believe what you've heard. And so there's a fatigue that comes with that too. The up. We think we found something, and then oh no, it was just a deer, or you know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's and so that takes its toll too, and it takes its toll on the workers. I was at one of the fire stations this morning and was talking with someone, and I'm going to hopefully get into this story a little bit later in the week. But there was a person from one of the camps there, and then there were some folks from the fire station there, and a partnership has really developed between these camps and the fire stations and the first responders when it comes to recovering things,
Wow. Yeah.
bracelets, pictures, T-shirts, things that washed away from the camps. The first responders are finding as they're doing their work, and the rescue and recovery workers are finding things. Well, as those things are being found, they're being taken to the fire stations. The fire stations are putting them together and trying to figure out, maybe which camp they came from and that kind of thing, and getting those things returned to the families.
Oh, that's so kind to do that. Yes.
It really was. It really was just kind of incredible to experience this morning, and I hope to be able to bring you more of that story as the week goes on. But that was interesting to see and experience that. And I heard an expression this morning that I've not heard yet that really touched me. The person that was talking in differentiating between those who had passed tragically and those who had been rescued, they talked about heavenly campers and earthly campers.
Oh,
and that touched
interesting.
me.
Yes. That is very touching. Wow, wow, wow. You're listening to Mark Ira Hooks. He's on the ground in Kerr County, Texas, covering the second month anniversary from the tragic flooding in July. I'm Jennifer Rash with Tab Media Group, which publishes the Alabama Baptist and the Baptist Paper. Mark serves as a traveling correspondent with the Baptist Paper and was there in July and now back here in September. We are covering a variety of stories through the Spot News element online at thebaptistpaper.org. You can follow us on our Facebook page, The Baptist Paper. We also are using this opportunity to launch a new Spot News and feature online reporting concept. I don't even know what to call it yet, Mark, but it's we are launching it with this coverage. It's called Ground Level, Real People, Real Places, No Studio Required, with Mark Ira Hooks. And he's going to be traveling pretty much monthly to a different location to share news and feature reports. Mark, tell us a little bit about what you're thinking so far. I know we're just now kind of getting into it, and you all are hearing it as we're building it, really.
I really think what Ground Level is exactly that. It is real people, it is real places, and it's not, this is not something that I think is heavily produced. And by that, I don't want to say that it's happenstantial or that there's no planning in it, but a lot of times as reporters, we go out to a location, we collect a whole bunch of stuff, we go back home, and we spend the next month putting it together into something pretty. Or even, the news stations do the same thing. They take it home and make it into something a little pretty. This is a little rough, and I think it's a little rough on purpose, because we want to bring people literally down to ground level, and we want to bring stories that matter to people, and I think we can do that, and I think I can say of myself, of all of the people at the Tab Media Group that make up this team, we're all serious journalists, and we began our career as mainstream journalists, and we've gravitated to the Christian media, and that's not to be preachy. It's to continue to tell real journalistic stories, but to do so with a compassionate Christian worldview that acknowledges that as we report on these things, there is a God element, and that God is involved and God is at work in people's lives, and even just this morning, talking to people, I have discovered that there's an incredible faith story that has come out of this flood, and it has strengthened people's faith. I'm sure we're going to find people whose faith has been challenged through this, but the idea of ground level is to be where Spot News happens, and to cover those things, but to also do feature stories, and even to look into different issues facing us as Americans, and to look at that through a Christian worldview, and not through something that's overly edited and produced. It's talking to people and getting their raw reactions to what's going on, and that's what it's like to be at ground level.
Well, speaking of the raw reactions, how are people receiving you as you're pulling up and wanting to talk and share?
I guess that depends on where I pull up. You know, and I will say this, you know, I'm accepted at the fire stations because in my everyday life, I serve as a fire chaplain. However, when I first pull up and they recognize that I am with the media, the immediate reaction is, you need to leave, and you need to leave immediately. And those people aren't being mean. They're protecting the things that they have to protect. They have a job to do, and that kind of thing. So there is that, right, in those who are in official capacity, they have to protect, and there are things that they can talk about, and there are things that they can't talk about, and we respect that. And so sometimes it feels a little mean, but it's not. But then for most people that I talk to, very open, very, very willing to talk, because especially in a situation like this, the fact of the matter is everybody has a story. Right. And whether you were in the floodwaters, or whether you had an uncle or a cousin or a whatever, you have a connection to this story. And so everybody here has a story, and everybody, you know, likes to have their stories heard, no matter who we are, where we are, or what the situation is. We like to have our stories heard. And so I think that's one of the other appeals of ground level is that we're out looking for regular folks, and just asking them, hey, tell us your story.
You know, I think about that a lot too, with so many times there are tremendous stories to be told, and but at the same time there's a fear of telling that story to someone who is connected to the media, even if it is a faith-based media. And I always wonder, you know, what makes that fear there, and is it something from the past? They've been scarred, they got misquoted, misrepresented in some way. But I would just love to encourage people that if you have an opportunity, even if you can't say much, even if you have to protect, even if you have to keep it very quick, you know, tell part of the story, tell what you can, and share. And I always think, especially for those in the faith community, it's an opportunity to share Christ. It's an opportunity to show love. It's an opportunity to show grace, even if you can't say very much. And rather than basically pushing and saying you must leave immediately, like happens so often. But Mark, do you think sometimes it comes with just the way we approach the situation? If we're
I think a lot of people have either a media bias or some PTSD that they deal with, and that certainly interferes. And they're, you know, so people are bashful. And I think in this day of social media, it's very easy to feel like maybe what you're going to say is going to be twisted, turned, you know, that kind of thing.
Good point. Yeah.
And so I think those biases are there. But I think, as with anything else, journalism is about personal relationships. And if I'm going to come up and just shove a microphone in somebody's face, they're not gonna want to talk to me. But ground level journalism is about making relationships with people and hearing their stories before you ever ask them to tell the world their stories.
Good point. Yeah.
It's you know, I want to hang out with you. I want to get to know you. I want you to tell me your story, and then there's going to be some times where I would respect and say, you know, maybe that's a story we don't tell to everybody. Thank you, but that's not a story we tell to everybody. But then there are other times where I feel like that people hearing that story would be encouraged, and so I encourage people to share. And I would say 9 times out of 10, when you approach someone through a personal relationship first, they're willing to share their stories. And you mentioned it, and I'm going to double back to it. You know, the writer of the Gospel of Luke was a journalist. You know, we always say he was a doctor, but he was a journalist. He said, I've set out to tell these things faithfully, and to bring you a faithful account. And you know, there were, as we read through that gospel, there were people who shared a whole lot, and we have a huge story about them. And then there are stories that Luke included that are like 3 sentences, and he moves on.
I'm guessing that's when the person said no.
Exactly. And so I think honestly, I think we see the same thing is, you know, people share what they feel comfortable sharing, and then the journalist tries to report that faithfully, and report it as Luke says, so others may know. And so we want to report the facts here on the ground, so others may know. And when we have the opportunity, we want to share the story of Jesus and what God is doing through these situations, so that others may know. And as they know, hopefully they come to belief, and then they have their own stories to share.
You're listening to Mark Ira Hooks with Ground Level. We're launching it this week. I'm Jennifer Rash with Tab Media Group, which publishes the Alabama Baptist newspaper and the Baptist paper. And it's the Baptist paper in which Mark is working as a traveling correspondent for Ground Level, a new segment that we hope that you'll follow online. The Baptist Paper Facebook page at thebaptistpaper.org, and we'll have it on Instagram and LinkedIn and all the other places as well, many platforms. And then Mark will have it through his Ground Level platforms also. So you can find it in a lot of places, but we hope you'll follow us. Mark, we got just a couple of minutes. Tell us about Cowboy Dave and what's going on there. We want to keep up with him.
So I stopped by his camp on the way to where I am right now, and he was out. But he's still here. His camp is here, and actually, as I was sitting here watching the traffic go by, I saw his truck roll by. So Cowboy Dave is here, and we'll be bringing you stories from him here in a little bit. I do want to add before we wrap up that if you who are listening have stories that you think would be great for Ground Level, to let us know. And our email address is groundlevel@thebaptistpaper.org. If you have an idea for Ground Level coverage, let us know, because we're putting things together for the months to come, and I'd love to come visit you and hear your stories.
That's right. We are the Baptist Paper will be sending Mark out to various places, so we're excited about what Ground Level is going to do. We'll have a website up soon for that as well. But as he said, the email is groundlevel@thebaptistpaper.org. You can find his stories and many more stories at thebaptistpaper.org, as well as on the Facebook page for the Baptist Paper. And we'll be covering all of this in various platforms. Mark is currently in Kerr County, Texas, following the 2-month anniversary of the tragic flooding that took place there in July. So this is kind of our second attempt at the Spot News online coverage, platform coverage that we'll be doing. So it's new for us, and we're really excited, and we hope you'll follow us and share your thoughts and comments and suggestions. Thebaptistpaper.org, the Baptist Paper on Facebook, and all of the platforms through tabmedia.group. I'm Jennifer Rash, and we'll catch you next time. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you.